What I'm going to be talking about today is about titles in relationships, dating relationships. Titles: boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, she's mine, he's mine, blah, 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 blah. All these things you tend to hear in regular relationships. Now, where do we begin? One, I want to tell people to stop saying she or he is mine. That person is mine. Listen, we are born human in this world by ourselves. We are not anyone's. We're born out, we come out the vagina of our mothers, and it's just us. We're not owned, we have our own free will. Yes, in the first few years of growing up, we are dependent on our mothers and fathers, but eventually we grow up to become independent. Now, once we become independent in our teenage years, this doesn't mean that you should be owned by your significant other. This creates a certain kind of hate, or depending on how you grew up, you might not want to feel that way, where you're being constantly a vulture is behind you all the time, you're constantly being watched by your significant other. This tends to happen in a lot of teenage relationships, whether that's from junior high school, when you first start in teenage, you get those little puppy love kind of relationships, up until your 20s, and that kind of residual from your teens stays. It's residual because you don't look for change. So stop giving title. Now, the problem with most people is that we are codependent on someone. We get too used to it, whether that's our parents, whether that's our significant other. Maybe you met somebody at a wrong time, you were going through something at the time, maybe you just lost your job, so they offer, you can stay with me in my house, I'll take care of you, don't worry, I'll cook for you, I'll feed you, whatever, and you become codependent on them. And sometimes, if you're not in the right headspace, you begin to sort of get into a comfort, get into the habit of letting them take care of you. And with that, if things go awry and it starts going bad, down the drain, you choose to stay. Why? Because they take care of you. And in that case, no relationship is perfect. You never know. Your independence should always be there. You should always have your freedom from one another. Just in case, and this may sound negative or wrong, but just in case you guys ends up not working. No relationship is perfect. Sometimes you break up for the most absurd reasons. So I suggest you become more independent, and if anything bad was to ever happen to you, turn to your family, even if you might not be on good terms, maybe a friend. In my experience, friends, even friends that aren't that close, have helped me more in my life than even people closest to me. Now, this might sound a little messed up, but it's true. Think about it. Now, when you remove titles from your relationships, what tends to happen? You feel happier. You don't have this vulture behind your back anymore. You become much more free. You start to see things differently. You start to respect one another because you don't own this person. They have their own free will. They have their own opinions. They have their own things. You guys are not one. All this BS you hear in the past, yes, you and me together, we are one. No, you guys are a team, a unit. That's what I tell my current girlfriend all the time. We're a team, we're a unit, we work together. When we are together, we make things better. When you have that kind of mentality, that's exactly what happens. You gotta say to yourself, when you are together, that it's amazing. You feel happier, you feel free, you feel more alive. And when you're not together, you still feel the same. They just kind of upgrade your life. Okay, respect and trust are two leading causes to happy relationships. People in happy relationships respect each other and they trust one another. Now, with that being said, when you decide to get into a relationship, you have to understand this. If you still have this sense of being jealous and not being able to withstand your significant other with people of opposite sex with them, whether they're hanging out with a close friend that's of the opposite sex or something, it means you are not ready. You are not ready to withhold this. And it's good to communicate this early so you guys can work on it together and say, maybe there's something you guys can hold on to. Like, oh, if you hang out, just let me know. And, you know, we can work on it. Like, I trust you. It's just, and believe you trust them, even if you do have trust issues. I've been there. I understand. I've been the real jealous type. I've been with girls that have completely erased my whole phone book in terms of women, and then just keeping only my family. And all the women I've ever known, all their phone contacts being deleted. And what that caused me to do, that caused me to talk to girlfriends behind her back. That wasn't good, but obviously at that moment I didn't know what was happening, and I learned from it. You don't want that to happen to you. So I say, go into your relationships with trust and respect. They're the number one reasons. The titles don't mean anything. Titles, just remove them. Consider yourselves a team, a unit. That's all I gotta say for this time. Until next week.
Coffee!